I'd like to call the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Go ahead.
I'd like to call the school board meeting to order. I'll get the words out in a minute.
Let us stand for a pledge.
Yeah, might be standing up.
Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. All right, we're together here for a joint work session between the school board and the Board of Supervisors of Lancaster County.
Can you get closer to your mic, Mr. Palin? I can hardly hear you.
You can hardly, okay, thank
Very
you. Oh, someone told me to tell you something, or tell all of us something, but I'll tell you something later. They said,
No, I can't do that.
they told us, speak into our mics. They're listening, they can't understand us. But,
Someone
but-
online can't hear?
Yeah, but they had a special message, you know? Okay, all right. So at this time, Mrs. Davis, Superintendent of Schools,
Good evening.
good evening.
Can you hear me? All right, just make sure I'm close enough. So we've been working on our FY26 school budget. Diligently, we start the process within our school systems meeting with all departments in the fall and ask for input from everybody and kind of work through the process that way. In last year's budget, we added some new positions, which we have found to have a very positive impact on our students this year. Some of those being the behavior support coaches. We added 2 at the elementary school and 1 at the high school. And we have seen tremendous results this year. We believe that those positions are a piece of that, attributed to that. We also added an SSO, a school security officer, so we have 1 at each school. So we have an SRO and then we have the SSO. The SSO is funded through our school budget. Those, and I'm sharing these because these are positions that we want to continue and keep in the budget. They were new, we've never had them at Lancaster County Schools, and I just want you to know the impact that they're having, so that's why I'm starting out with this.
Let me back up. You
Yes.
got an SRO and an SSO at the elementary school.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. At each school, we have that. We got some feedback from teachers, and 97% of the teachers stated that they feel those positions make the schools safer and help eliminate distractions and disruptions in the school. 50% of our, and I hesitate to use discipline referral numbers because I don't like using that discipline referral because it's not about getting that number down, it's about getting the disruptions and the behaviors down. But overall, we've seen a 50% decrease this year in disciplinary infractions. So we're only halfway through the year and we've still got spring and there's still a lot of the year left, but that's encouraging and it's good because we're really focusing on protecting that learning environment for all kids. So another position that we added last year that we're anticipating keeping in the budget this year is the STEAM teacher. That was a new position. They're located in our makerspace in the renovated school. And all of our elementary kids in 1st and 5th go to that class regularly. So they're coding, they're learning about, they're even doing like a project, they've built an entire town. And each grade level works on one aspect of that town based on their science and math SOLs. So for example, they built the town and then say third grade focuses on natural disasters. They have to come up with an emergency plan for that town. So one's working on electricity and, all different things. So the kids are really gaining a lot from that course too. We have a phenomenal teacher in that classroom. I mentioned the SSOs, and of course, we're heavily focused on post-secondary success. So all the way from pre-K through 12, we've added a lot of new aspects into a kid's education pre-K through 12 and kind of redesigning that high school experience. We're at the beginning of it and we're still working on plans for future, but we're also getting some quick wins in there. So those are some new things to the school system that have been really impactful. So it's good for everybody to be aware of those and know them. So on to budget numbers. So we've been working, we've had a school board work session as well. And of course, important to our school board, and I know all of you too, is staff salaries. Would like to be able to keep up. Last year, we had a very nice increase for our staff, and we heard a lot of feedback from our staff as well that it mattered. And we got our starting teacher salary up there as well. So we know that's important to everybody in this room. Would like to still try to find a way to keep ahead of the game in that starting teaching salary. We don't expect what we got last year, but that put our starting salary and our salaries in a really nice position. So we are, this year, as we're starting to create our budget, we're looking at trying to do a 5% raise. We're also going to look at a 3% and just kind of compare them both. We're looking at a health insurance premium increase, which we do most years. We won't have those final numbers till as late as February 20th. So we're budgeting some guesstimates in there based on previous years. But again, we would like to work into the budget to cover that increase for our staff so that they don't lose pay because of the insurance increase. Some other increases that we've seen this year that we do have to plan for is, I'm starting out with the increases, but I'm going to get to the efficiencies too. Police presence. We've had to have more police presence at games. That's been an additional cost. It's not a tremendous one, but it is there. And we've had safe games, and we haven't had any major incidents, thank the Lord. So, and then we have increased tutoring at LHS as well. But we've seen great growth at the high school too. Last year in our academic numbers that we got at the end of the year, 4 of those academic gaps were closed for the first time in a very, very long time. It was 4 out of 5. So that was in math and English for both our Black students, economically disadvantaged. So those were really good academic gains for our kids. And then we've had to increase our number of individual drivers for students. We have a lot of kids who have private transportation, and so that number has grown quite a bit over the past year or so that we didn't anticipate. Now, we are, through this process for us and through the work session with the school board, we have been looking at efficiencies too. So what have we had in that budget that either we may not need in the future or we need a little bit less of, or it changes and things change. I mean, our kids' needs change constantly, so we're always going through each item. And some of those things that we're looking at to create some efficiencies in the budget is we had, due to staffing and some hard-to-fill positions, we were 100% staffed last year. We were extremely proud of that. We were very happy to start the year that way. We did offer one virtual course, which has been a great experience for kids. It's been, they're all getting that virtual course, but we think we will be able to get that position filled this year.
What was that virtual course in?
It's a science course, elementary, yeah. And we think we'll be able to get that position filled this year, and if we do, that will give us some decrease in funding. We're looking at some different contracted services that we have, and then we have shifted to a bookkeeper district-wide instead of a bookkeeper at each school. That's something that will continue, and that's a cost savings. And then we are looking at moving to a single bus route next year. We feel like there's benefits. We're not proposing that just to save money. We feel like it's hard to hire bus drivers, and we have several bus drivers who are they're close to retirement, and we have seriously looked at this all year. CD Hathaway has kind of rerouted and seen how everything would work. It would take us to pre-K through 12 being on the same bus. All of our surrounding counties are doing that. We shifted away from it years ago. We actually piloted it this year with one of our buses, and
In the past, I noticed that the high schoolers would look after the elementary schoolers.
They do.
Yeah.
They
make
do.
sure- Yeah, you cut down on your discipline that way.
Yeah, and we don't have that many high schoolers riding the buses.
Yeah, they drive.
So, and it also allows the younger kids to get home with older siblings at the same time. But we did run one bus route that way this year, and it was successful. There weren't any issues having the different age kids on the bus. So we're hoping that, although it will lead to some cost savings, we're hoping that it actually helps us keep our drivers staffed as well over time. Because we're not going to have more people beating down our doors to drive buses in the future. And we're always looking for grant opportunities. And we feel like a good place to look for those especially is in the area of safety and security, because there are a lot of grants out there for safety and security. So we're still hoping to be able to find a grant to cover the SSO position that we fully funded last year, but it was originally through a grant that we got that position.
Okay.
So we're still reaching out to find any sources in regards to
Let me ask you a
grants.
question. Let me back up to transportation. How you transporting your gifted and, the governor schools, kids?
Oh, Chesapeake Bay Governor
Yeah.
School? So they go up in the morning, and at the beginning of the year, they started out on a bus. It's a separate bus
Bus,
route.
okay.
And then they had been using also the 14-passenger van,
Okay.
which has worked out really nice. Yeah, and the Northern Neck Technical Center kids ride up on a bus route as well. They're two separate.
Okay. All right.
Jessica, do we have a grant writer on staff?
We do not. We write them in-house.
Who writes grants?
Oh, a variety of people.
Okay.
Kia does some, I do some, Mrs. Kellum does some.
And it's working?
We get it done, yeah.
When I was on the school board, we invested in a grant writer, and it paid off the, I don't know, the $55,000 salary. Certainly justified the millions that we were able to bring in.
Yeah.
Not saying you have to, I'm just,
Do we have somebody that currently does Mr. Palin's former job of federal program management?
Well,
Or is that duty? assigned
Ms.
out?
Dobbins and Ms. Kellum are overseeing that, and Mr. Palin still helps too. So those are the overall topics that we're kind of looking at. We don't have any major changes. We're still looking at funding some international teachers again this year. That has worked very well for us. It does cost a little bit more, but the teachers are here, they're hardworking, they're successful, the kids like them, and they stay
They
for a
do?
length of time as well.
Okay.
There's an obligation there in that contract, so we don't, it eliminates the, are we gonna have to look for a teacher next year?
Okay.
So, and it's been a good overall experience as well. In fact, one of our teachers' husband has moved here now as well, so, yeah. And that's, do you have any questions, or do you all have anything to add, or?
So is that program a special program if they're come out under?
It is. We work with a company who is like the middleman to make sure all the paperwork and the visas and everything are in place.
Do we know if that's going to be affected by any of the current?
I have been told that it will not. So we'll stay on top of it, though, to see if anything should change.
I didn't hear that question.
Sorry, I just had mentioned, was there any indication that there may be less availability of that due to the current immigration crackdowns and things that are going on? Whether would it still be available to you all?
Well, these people that are coming are credentialed the way they should be. And so they, otherwise they wouldn't be sent.
Yeah, yeah, they're fully licensed and they have the visa.
All right. Any other questions, gentlemen?
just one, so you mentioned that there was you've seen as much as a 50% decrease in I guess, poor behavior. Does that correlate to test scores being higher, or is it too early to tell?
It's too early to tell.
Okay.
Yeah. That we've seen some good positive trends there, and we've also seen some good positive trends in our chronic absenteeism, which is a very sore spot for us. Our numbers last year were, I think, 22 and 34. That means 34% of the kids at the high school were chronically absent, missed 17 or more days, and 22% of the kids at the elementary school missed 17 or more days, and some of them are up in the 60s and 70s. So when we're looking at that, if they're not in school, they're not going to learn. So if we can continue to focus on the behavioral aspect, the absenteeism, and the mental health area, which they're just 3 areas that wrap into a student's success. We're just heavily focused on all 3 of those areas too, but I wouldn't say we have correlations yet to see what specifically.
I guess my only question is, and it's more of a statement, I guess, when you all are looking at the budget, you are striving to keep it in line with last year's budget. I'm talking the bottom number now. I'm talking the final number.
We are. We're still in the process of looking for efficiencies. We know there are going to be increases with the insurance and things, but we're always looping back through, seeing what, sort of just starting where we are, always looping back through where can we also be more efficient and save. So hopefully those kind of help to cancel each other out.
How much have we had to budget to implement the state's new accountability system?
I don't think there's a number on that yet. We're in the process of adding some of those things already. Like there's a 3E portion of that framework, which we already are, rolling forward with. I know that that JLARC study that came out last year, there are some House bills that are looking at adding, funding some of those pieces, but I don't yet know if we know what all costs will be.
It doesn't
Tacked
look like
in.
they're going to add any more additional raises, but it does look like they're going to meet the support cap
Yeah,
piece and fully fund that.
yeah.
They've got more than $1 billion in surplus again, so how they ultimately divide that up is yet to be determined. but
Yeah, there are
a lot-
still.
It's
Go
an
ahead.
election year, so it's a lot of politics going on with bills and things currently going on up there,
Yeah.
so.
There's still a lot of positions that are required for standards of quality that aren't.
I would like you to
Funded.
try to put a number to what it's costing the district to implement this new system.
I think that as we move forward, we'll be able to figure that out.
Because it seems like just every few years, the state comes up with some new scheme. It's just more new lipstick on a pig, but it's still.
But it's costing us.
Yeah, of course it costs us. They just pass the buck along. They don't really pay their bills. And if they do, they only partially pay their bills. And in a case like us, we pay 80% of the bill no matter what.
Right.
So we're paying the bill pretty much no matter what they decide to do up there. But across the Commonwealth right now, everybody, board supervisors, school boards are going through this exercise. We meet, we talk, we all agree that we need to pay people more. Some decide they have the money, we pay teachers more, and we go about and we go back, but we ultimately just keep doing the same thing, chasing test scores or ever-changing benchmarks or numbers. And we talk about improvements, but at this point, there's no way to tell whether we're actually improving or not by using those metrics because they've changed them so many times. And so we're just wasting money, in my opinion. And until we decide to actually get away from these bullshit accountability systems that are more political than they are actual educational tools, and put that money toward funding instructional materials and teachers, we're going to continue this exercise year after year, and we're never going to get anywhere. And the problems that we have, that we're talking about now, teacher shortages, teacher quality, all those things are just going to continue to get worse. I will yield the rest of my time.
Anyone else?
Could you get closer to the mic? I didn't hear anything.
They recorded it. I think the recording's working right. Or you can go back and watch. No.
Well, there is truth to it changing so often, and this new framework, although there are pros in it as well, it's being implemented incredibly fast, which doesn't allow for making sure that we have everything worked out for how it works, so.
Well, next year, we'll likely have a new General Assembly and a new governor, and then a new initiative, and new benchmarks, and new whatever. It's all bullshit.
Don't hold back, Jerry, please.
All right. I think we've had our say. Is there anything else you want to present? Board member chair? Ms. Chairman?
I'm sorry. I don't think so.
Okay.
We were in Richmond this week for the Capitol Conference and heard about the $3 billion surplus. But then when they started talking about how they were going to divide it up, who knows?
Yeah.
And we did talk about the LCI, every chance we get.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the support cap is very widely supported across both parties politically, and it just seemed like really low-hanging fruit for them to be able to pick off, and that's at least something they all should be able to agree to get done. They've been dragging their feet and picking at it year after year just to get the job done. You're never going to get any better economic conditions than they have right now at the state.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to speak for the board. I think I'm speaking on, or they agree with me. I'd like to thank you for working toward a level budget for this year. And this is all we have to say at this particular time. So, Ms. Chairman, if you want to close yours out, I will.
And we, in turn, would like to thank y'all for your support last year and for your continued support. It means a lot that we work so well together, and we've done good things this year, so thank you too.
Okay.
And it's good because, I mean, we really have brought our starting salary up, and there's only a about a $7,000 difference between our starting salary here and Fairfax, so we do have a competitive salary.
That's good. All right.
Anybody want to say that?
We got more than that, we got a
I was
better
gonna-
living area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to tell Jessica, you might not have the numbers with you, but the absenteeism is down this year versus last year.
As of now, the trends are going that way. Like I said, it's like with discipline, it could change in it could change in a heartbeat. Because there might be kids that are right at the cusp that are still off that number that could go there. So, in springtime, there's something in the air, so. But that's where it's.
You know, I don't want you to get way in the weeds on it, but do y'all really have a answer for why the absentee rate is what it is?
So
Do you really,
This is what we're doing. We can probably all guess at a lot of the overall reasons, but we hired a new truancy officer. And I've
Okay.
specifically asked him, as he's talking to families, to write down the specific reasons so we can start looking. Because when we say, I don't know if y'all saw in the news, but there was a school system near Richmond who there were like 30 to 50 kids who were chronically absent. And they found out it's because they're all living in the same apartment building and the washers and dryers haven't been working there since April. So if we can figure out the real reasons, we can try to combat them and provide resources and help. So
so you keeping data on and then
yeah,
trying to.
really like this is specifically why this kid is not here. So we're gathering that at a much deeper level than we have in the past.
Yeah. Okay.
And giving incentives for them to be in school.
Yeah, generating a culture where the kids want to be in school, where it's an exciting place to be. They're excited about learning.
Yeah.
It's not chasing test scores and demoralizing kids, because that's too often what we do.
Okay, at this particular time, unless we got some more questions or whatever, I'm gonna call this recess until 7. All right. Thank you. I'd like to call the board meeting back in session. At this particular time, we have the public input session, and you're allowed to speak for 3 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, I will hold a sign up letting you know you have 1 minute left. So whatever you got to say, just get right to the point and tell us what's on your mind. All right, at this particular time, floor is open for public input session. All right, anyone? Yes?
Good evening to this storied assembly. I am Pixie E. Curry, Chair of the Save Brookville History Committee. I wish to express gratitude on behalf of the other committee members to the county administration for their support for the upcoming May Day at 36 Primary School Circle, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on May 17, 2025. I especially want to thank Supervisor Bill Lee and his colleagues for the final approval of the commemorative sign that depicts all the achievements of the Lancaster County Public Schools students, but specifically Brookville High School, represented on the sign with the blue and orange for Brookville High School amongst the red and white of Lancaster. The committee was granted approval for the highway historical marker for Brookville. Public support is necessary for the purchase of the approved highway marker, which is $3,400. I encourage everyone to go to the website brookvillemaydayswag.com, where donation option for not only for the highway marker, but also support of the event and the costs associated with producing the event that can be viewed. I thank the general public for the support and look forward to sharing updates with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What was the website again?
Brookville Mayday Swag, SWAG.com.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Eddie Brewer, just spelled just like it sounds, B-R-E-W-E-R. I represent the Landing Owners Association, which is a 28-unit townhome complex at Whitestone, Virginia, at Windmill Point. We've been partners with the county for the last 2 to 3 years on the Westland Beach, public beach expansion and fishing pier. And the Landing has received a lot of benefit from the project, and the county will also receive a lot of benefit from the project, especially those folks that haven't had beach access moving forward. In return for some beach replenishment efforts at the Landing, the Landing Association provided a perpetual easement for parking and other uses at the Windmill Point Marina, the area in between the Landing and the marina. So phase 2 has been underway here for quite some time. The last input anybody from the Landing has been able to offer on the phase 2 development was August 22nd. And we feel like as owners there, we're going to be left to manage the project and the facility after the county has moved on to the next project. And we feel like that we should have some more input in what's going on in phase 2, and we haven't been able to offer that input yet. So just ask the county to consider being more open and transparent with the Landing community on phase 2 and appreciate the continued partnership.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll make that happen.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay, at this point, public input session is now closed. VDOT?
Good evening.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to be with you all this evening. I say Mike's been out the last few weeks, and I just wanted to start by thanking Mike Moss and Kenny Hamill. They're the crew leader and supervisor, and Brookvale. They stepped up in a big way and took care of things while Mike was out. And glad he's back, but it's good to know you got guys to take care of things when he's out.
Where have you been, Mike? No, you don't tell me.
Tell him none of your business, and none of you.
I got a new knee.
He'd have rather been at work. He'd have rather been at work. But they've been busy. We cut brush on Pierce's Road and King Carter Road and Quail Trail. We cleaned ditches on Irvington Road and repaired some sidewalk in Weems. I think everybody knows we've been fighting winter storms here. Last few weeks, got a little break this week. But we've been cleaning up from that. And they've been working on potholes county-wide as well as work orders. We have cut some brush on Route 3 already. We've got some more to do in Whitestone and on Greentown Road. We'll continue patching potholes. We have a drainage improvement on Fleets Bay Road to make. We'll be cleaning the sidewalks in Lively, which I think was a request from county administration. And we'll keep up with work orders. I got a bunch of notes here. I could put my glasses on. Let's see, the turn lane in Kilmarnock, the apparent low bidder on that was Graham Concrete. I expect that pre-construction meeting to happen in February. Those other three projects on the smart scale list are in the out years. We're looking forward to getting that turn lane built here shortly. On the HSIP, the Highway Safety Improvement list, the paved shoulder on Route 3 will be advertised February 11th, and that'll be done with the paving season this summer. We're making progress on the pedestrian signals in Kilmarnock. That should go late this spring, early summer as well. The scour repair on Camps Prong on the structure and bridge list on Route 3, I expect them to show up around May or June. They're moving to a project in Northumberland next month. And once they finish there, they'll be on Route 3. Oyster Creek Bridge, they're finalizing some utility relocations, and then I expect to see some activity happening there once that design is finished. And the culvert on 354, that one goes to add February 11th. That will have a detour, and it is bundled with another culvert in Richmond County, so I don't anticipate seeing construction. The Richmond County culvert's going to get built first because it's in worse shape than this one, but I don't expect to see construction start on 354 until November or December, towards the end of the year. The bridge signs are now complete. We're working on messaging for those. And that's everything I have on my list. You have any questions for me?
So is the first message going to be dinosaur attacks on the bridge?
All right, okay, thank you, sir.
All right, y'all have a good one. Thank you.
Okay. Presentations, audit?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jay. I'm a partner with Robinson Farmer Cox, and a partner in charge of the audit for the county. I do tend to go a little bit quick on my presentations. I've provided my notes. Hopefully you all have it. But at any time, just tell me to stop and ask a question, or you can ask a question at the end. Let's Start on page 1, which is the audit opinion. We are giving the county what's considered an unmodified opinion. This is the best opinion the county can receive for their financial statements. What it's stating is these financial statements are materially correct. Page 12, which is Exhibit 1, this is the balance sheet on a full accrual basis. I usually tell boards, don't look too much into this exhibit because this includes adjustments made by the state for things like DRS and OPEB that you have no control over. But with that being said, the net position for the county for the primary government at the end of the fiscal year was $20.9 million, which is an increase of about $77,000. Pages 13 and 14, which is Exhibit 2, this is, again, your income statement on that accrual basis that has those adjustments done by the state. Again, it shows the net position or the income for the county to be $770,000 at the end of the year. Page 16 is Exhibit 3. This is a little bit better for citizens and for the board to look at to see how the county is actually doing. This is on modified accrual basis. Does not include some of these adjustments made by the state. It shows a fund balance of $69 million at the end of fiscal year 2024. This is compared to $82 million at the end of 2023, which is a decrease of about $12.8 million. But again, most of that is accounted for in construction, and we'll talk about that in a second. Unassigned fund balance at the end of the year was $7.5 million. It's down from $10 million. Unrestricted cash at the end of the year was $13.5 million, which is down from $17.6 million the prior year. And unrestricted cash and investments at the end of the fiscal year is $58 million, down from $69.5 million from the prior year. Exhibit 5, which is page 17, this is the county's income statement on that modified accrual basis. And it does show, again, one thing I want to highlight is the revenues were $35.5 million, which is up actually from the prior year by about $1.5 million. Pages 19, 20, and 21, these exhibits are the sewer fund financial statements. Those are on full accrual basis, so they usually don't go over this, but I do like for you all to see that, and if you have questions, just to let me know. Going to the notes, page 44, this is one of the most important notes, I believe, for the board and for the citizens to look at. This shows debt and when debt is due, especially I think it's good for planning purposes for the board to see when the debt is due. Unless the landfill liability, which is kind of an actuarial liability, the county had about $7 million in long-term debt and about $77 million in long-term debt that's associated with the school board. And pages 45 through 48 show the timing of this debt payments through 2057. Page 112, which is Exhibit 29. This is the school board's balance sheet, just good for you all to look at. And page 113, Exhibit 30. This is the school board's income statement. I do like to point out that the county contributed $13.5 million to the schools in fiscal year 2024. I think these next two exhibits, are the next two schedules are most important for not only for the board and the citizens to look at, see how you did compared to your budget to what was actual. So starting on page 121, Schedule 1, this schedule is the revenues compared to what actually happened compared to the budget. And on page 123, the bottom of Schedule 1, the county budgeted for revenue of $31.4 million. You actually received $31.9 million, so you're actually $550,000 over budget, but that was very close compared to most counties. Schedule 2 starts on page 127. This is the detail of the expenditures compared to your budget. On page 130, it shows the county budgeted for $64 million of expenditures, but only spent $48.5 million. That variance is mostly due to the school construction not being done in fiscal year 24, but was budgeted for. Page 143 is our auditor's report on internal controls. I have no findings. Page 145 are our auditor's report on compliance for each major fund, and there are no findings for that as well. Page 148 is a schedule of expenditures for federal awards. So this is your federal money that you received, the county and the schools received in FY24, which was $3.6 million. And finally, on page 151, their schedule of findings and questioned costs. We audited 3 federal programs. We had no findings, and we consider what the county's called a low risk because we haven't had findings for the last 2 years. I would like to express that I think you all have a very, very strong Treasury Department here, as well as I stated to somebody earlier today, I audit 11 localities throughout the state of Virginia, and this is one of my easier audits, in all honesty, because you guys do a very good job. Any questions?
Any questions, gentlemen? All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And,
Mr. Payne, I think usually the board makes a motion to accept the audit.
okay.
I make that motion to accept the audit.
All right, you heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. No, okay. Opposed, nay? All right, ayes have it unanimously. Thank you for the job that you did. You're real good. That's Mr. Gill and the treasurer, Mrs. All right, thank you very much. Anybody else involved? Give them my thank you and appreciation. All right, all right. All right, audit. Next one, schools.
So I got a few slides for you this month on where we stand with the project. We did run into a little bit of delays with the weather, with the snow and ice, but we're quickly catching back up to where we need to be. First page just goes over all the subs that are at the site right now and gives you a quick breakdown of, the things that they're working on. And I try to reflect each of these fields with a picture throughout the presentation. Do this each month. This is December. It's one of the prettier days in December. And I got it. The next slide will show you how far we've come in a month's time. You can see a lot of the steel framing has gone up. Some more concrete's been poured on the site. And they've kind of closed in that bottom, what they call level 0. And there's a lot of work taking place in there now. They're sort of sheltered in from the cold weather. Big news this week has been the steel joists showed up, and so they've been quickly putting this stuff up in the air. I had a very stern talking to about where to go and where not to go before I went out in the field to get these pictures. You can see there's, most of the steel for the ceiling is in place at this point, ready to be set by the crane. What you're looking at in that photo is the gym area. Where the trusses have been set is the aux gym, and they're working on the main gym. Just another picture to show, how far they've come with those trusses. This is the parking lot area. Again, the geothermal wells are under this, and today stone arrived, so they were trying to beat the rain in to get some stone on the site, so I'll have another Walker Sand and Stone invoice for you, Don. This is the bathroom facility out near the football field. Just a quick photo to show how far they've come on that. They've got everything sort of roughed in and ready for some more masonry work. This will be the location of the field house. They're just laying it out right now. They've got everything leveled off, and next month I should have some photos that look similar to the bathrooms in that area. This just shows the guys wiring up the lights. All the field lights are in place at this point. And the turf guys that have been on site, they worked hard through the cold weather this past month, and they should be wrapped up late next week. This is a photo. This is inside that level 0, what they call area C within the school, and so it's you can kind of get a sense of one of the corridors through there. They're starting to hang the brackets for all the mechanical and electrical, and the classrooms. You can kind of start to visualize how big the classrooms are going to be on the left-hand side. This is sort of the opposite side, still on level 0, what they call area D, and that blue tarped area was actually concreted this morning. So all the concrete from level 0 is complete, and they'll be working on concrete on level 1 starting next week. This is sort of a big money shot. I've gotten a lot of phone calls this week about the field. It looks awesome. Everybody's very excited about being able to get out there. It's going to be a while before that, I had another strict lesson in not walking out there with my muddy boots on. The track will probably start going in when the weather warms up. They'll pour asphalt once the plants open up. And once we get a lot of that taking place, people have an opportunity to get out on the field.
What was decided on the logo in the middle of that field?
It's going to look very similar to what's in the high school gym, LHS. In the end zones, if you go back a slide, John, it does say Lancaster on one end and Red Devils on the other end. But it'll just say LHS in the center.
All right.
It's kind of neat to watch them. I thought the fabric would have showed up with all this, the striping and the numbers and everything incorporated into it. What they do is they just roll it out, cut that stuff out, and sort of glue those pieces in place. So it's neat to watch this process play out.
Any questions, additional questions? All right. Thank you.
Hope school looks at you.
All right, County Parks, Mr. Bateman?
Yes, sir.
Just to provide an update on Westland Beach project and where it stands. Docks of the Bay has done a really excellent job, and I was out there 3 days ago in the bitter cold, and the guys were out there working on a pier, so commend to them. This is a picture of them working a few days ago on the pier. All the deck boards are pretty much laid down, and they got about half of them riveted in place. Here's a close-up of the guys out there working. They've left the spaces where the cross members are undecked, and I guess that's for the purposes of putting up the rails, I think. This is a picture from out on the pier, towards the end of the pier, looking back at the construction of the pier. So a lot of progress has been made. It was really blustery out there. If you're going to go fishing out there in the cold wind, kudos to you. And this is also from the end of the pier looking back at the breakwaters and the beach. This is my first time looking at the breakwaters from the water angle, and they look fantastic. This picture kind of shows some of the sand accreting on breakwater D and the pier in the background. The beach is starting to take shape, and I noticed that a lot of the sand material that's there is sand material that's being deposited. So that construction sand is starting to get overlain by some natural sand accretion. This is another example from breakwaters F and G of that accretion. There has been some additional erosion of the bank, and I talked with the marina operator about that. I think they're intending to grade that back pretty soon. This is a view of breakwaters A, B, and C from the pier. Again, you can see the tombolo shapes kind of forming from the sand, and you can almost kind of tell the protection that is providing the landings, condominiums from the wind from the bay. So remaining phase one to be completed, the fishing pier, ramp decking and railing, the channel markers, channel dredging, dredge material preparation, beach nourishment with the dredge material, and then the beach revegetation. Quick update on phase two, which is the parking lot and comfort station that went out to bid, and the pre-bid meeting was completed with 13 contractors showing up to the pre-bid meeting. So really good turnout of contractors. Bid opening is expected February 13th, and with a county award of the contract at the February board meeting. Other parks update, Taylor Creek Park, draft plans are completed for the road, shoreline, pier, boardwalk, and structures. They're targeting a May 2025 bid. with a June 26 Board of Supervisors award. Again, that's targeted. Carter Cove Park update, project engineering is estimated at 70% completion, targeted late 2025 bid. A reminder that we were awarded, the county was awarded $9,200 from the Chesapeake Bay Trust Oyster Innovation Fund for the oyster spat on shell tank at the Heritage Center. We were unfortunately denied funding from the Chesapeake Bay Restoration Fund through the Virginia legislature. We'll try again next year. Project Chesapeake Trail update, the project is cleared for NEPA review. Finally, Triway Trail update, current construction focuses on the completion of Phase 1A, and that's the Harris Road connector. I think we were waiting to get through some of this bad weather to finish the work at the bridge there. Current planning focuses on Phase 1B, Hills Quarter to Compass, utilizing the funds designated by Senator Warner. The VDOT Ready, Set, Go grant application was denied. VDOT thought that maybe alternative funding pathways might exist, and those discussions are ongoing. We're hoping to get this on VDOT's radar because as the Triway Trail progresses, we're probably going to be using a lot of transportation funding. Working on the acquisition of land to develop Phase 2, Kilmarnock to Harris Road connector. The Triway Trail Board elected a new chairman, and the planning and funding committees were established. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions, gentlemen?
And the new chairman is Mr. Bateman.
I voted nay.
Any questions? All right, thank you, sir. All right. And the next thing is for public hearing, but the public hearings that were scheduled for this month has been postponed until next month. So, consensus docket,
I move for approval.
you've heard the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. All right, let's see, salaries and invoices.
Give me a second here. We have 2 months to approve because we were approving the December ones this month as well. So I'll read those first. For the month of December, we have total invoices for the amount of $3,532,222.75. Total payroll, $464,184.18, for a total of $3,996,406.93. Of that, capital improvements were $2,151,291.93, and ARPA funds of $27,901.67.
Okay, you heard the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, approved.
And then the expenses for January are total invoices, $4,436,521.43. Total payroll, $476,964.32, for a total of $4,913,485.75, of which loan payments were $277,750, capital improvements, $3,433,455.98.
All right, you've heard the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passed. Okay. Application for special exception, Mr. Gill.
Mr. Chairman, this is an application by American Tower and T-Mobile to co-locate an antenna array for T-Mobile cellular service on the existing cell tower off of River Road. This is between Lit Walton and Chin's Mill, where that tower is located. This is the only special exception that I'm aware of that does not require a public hearing, as it is an application to co-locate on an existing tower with no increase in overall height. These are usually, pretty much a no-brainer. This tower, we are installing county emergency services radio equipment on as part of our P25, that $4+ million project that we have. And so you'll see in the recommendation where we recommend approval pending the results of an interference, intermodulation, and transmitter noise receiver desensitization study showing that the current and planned county emergency radio operations will not be adversely impacted by this co-location. We don't believe it will, but we just want to make sure that where the T-Mobile antennas are going, we're going to have county equipment above it and below it. So we want to make sure that there's no interference.
I have a quick question. These seem to be kind of defunctory after they've already built the tower. Is there a reason why these come back for basically a rubber stamp from the Board of Supervisors and can't be, why couldn't this be done administratively?
Because it's in the ordinance that it requires a special exception. I mean, we'd have to change our ordinance to do that.
Because it seems like once you build the tower, that would be where the controversy could be once it's built.
Yeah.
Like putting additional stuff on it doesn't seem to be.
Well, it does matter in a way, and I'll give you an example. I got an email today from Matt Smith, who had gotten an email from L3 Harris, who is the vendor for our emergency services radios. And he said that as long as the T-Mobile equipment is placed exactly where it's supposed to be, at that I think it's 255-foot level, it will not interfere. But there's only 1.5 feet of play between the upper antennas and the lower antennas. So where they put that antenna, if it varies and it's not in the exact location, there may be some interference. And, you know, the antennas over time, the size changes. So, you know, it could depend, you know, the diameter of them could be larger or smaller. But to answer your question, we could, I guess, change our ordinance to have these approved administratively.
Because that type of thing that you talk about would be checked out by the experts anyhow. We wouldn't
Right.
be involved in that part of it.
Right. Well, as I said, the way our ordinance is written today, this requires a special exception with board approval.
It just seems like we're voting on something that we just there's no real decision to make, but other than just to vote for it, because
Yeah.
there's no real downside.
You want the planning commission to look at change the ordinance?
I mean, we can look at it.
It wouldn't hurt for them to look at it.
I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, so have them look at it.
Okay.
Do we need to put that to a vote?
I move that we examine the cell tower additional placement ordinance.
Okay, you've heard that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, no, okay.
I make a motion that this application be approved.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Okay, so next one, budget, proposed budget calendar. Mr. Gill.
That's me again. I was waiting for that to come up. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As in past recent years, I've proposed a calendar of additional meeting dates that yields the earliest possible time frame with the least number of additional meetings, given the required advertisements and waiting periods of all the applicable boards and commissions associated with budget approval. On the attached calendar, you'll see additional meeting dates highlighted in yellow concerning the Board of Supervisors. One of those yellow highlights is actually tonight's meeting at 5:30, which you've already had. So the other 5 highlighted meetings, 2 of those are actually just meeting earlier on your regular meeting date. March 13th is a Thursday at 5 p.m. March 25th is a Tuesday at 5 p.m. And April 10th is a Thursday at 5 p.m. So really, I'm asking you to check your calendars and make sure that we can at least have a quorum present on those dates. I've had entities and departments ask me about the upcoming presentation dates. They'd like to get them on their calendar, so I'd like asking the board to approve this calendar tonight so that we can get those dates out there to those folks.
Okay, I move that we approve the proposed calendar for fiscal year 26 budget. I've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passed. Okay. Budget mid-year, Mr. Gill.
Mr. Chairman, I started doing this a few years ago at the board's request, mid-year review. I've just got the synopsis page of your FY25 budget attached to the memo. Broadly speaking, halfway through the fiscal year, you would expect to have received at least 50% of the anticipated revenues and spent no more than 50% of your approved expenditures. And based on the totals that you'll see on that synopsis page, we have collected approximately 71% of our anticipated revenues and spent right at that 50% mark. So I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you may have. Nothing really jumped out at me. I know last year we talked about the revenue line items from the Commonwealth and the federal government being, not up to 50%, but that's the way it seems to always be each year. Those reimbursements from the state and Fed, tend to lag behind and come later. And on the expense side, everything is pretty much at 50% except for the debt service. And we tend to have our larger debt payments in December and January because that's right during tax collection time when we have, the most revenue available. So, like I said, I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that you may have.
I just have one question regarding the federal. We expended all of our federal ARPA money and crossed all those Ts and dotted all those Is for our money. Do you know if the school district,
To my knowledge,
has reimbursed all their
yes.
funds as well?
Yes.
Because they had to expend them and expend local money and then get their money back from the state,
Yes.
just to make sure that we've gotten all that money back.
I have asked that question. I've been told yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Before we go to the next item, we're going to go into closed session.
Mr. Chairman, to discuss the next item, I think the board needs to go into closed session, consultation with legal counsel relating to the legal matters related to that lease.
Can I make a statement before we do that?
Okay.
John and Jason was spearheading this, but the comments from the landlord, let's make sure that we keep them in the loop on what's going on. I think that's very important. Jason,
Definitely.
he was the forerunner on that, getting that relationship built. So let's make sure that we keep them
We're
up
going
to
to,
date.
we're going to get together with Mr. Brewer and his folks.
I don't believe we've made any changes since our last meeting. so-
No, I mean,
No.
nothing is different.
But sometimes when you don't hear anything, you don't
Yeah.
know anything, you know what's going on. So even if maybe just a courtesy call.
Oh, well, no, we're going to get together. We'll come down and meet.
Yeah, after Mr. Burrow spoke, Mr. Gill looked at me and said, I'll take care of it.
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
All right.
Already. I move that the Board of Supervisors enter into a closed meeting for one, personnel per section 2.2, 3711A of the Code of Virginia, 2, acquisition, disposition of real property per section 2.2, 3711A3, and legal matters per section 2.2, 3711A8 of the Code of Virginia.
All right, you've heard that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, we are now in closed session. I call this meeting back to order from closed session, and I move that Lancaster County Board of Supervisors adopt the following certification resolution. Whereas the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors convened in a closed meeting on January the 30th, 2025, pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote on the motion to close the meeting to discuss personnel, legal matters, and acquisition, disposition of real property in accordance with section paragraph 2.2-3711.A 1, 2.2-3711.A.8, and 2.2-3711.A.3 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas section paragraph 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board of Supervisors that such closed meetings was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, number one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act were heard, discussed, or considered in a closed meeting to which this certification applies. And number two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting to which this certification applies. Before a vote is taken on this resolution, is there any member who believes that there was a departure from the requirements of number one and number two above? If so, identify yourself and state the substance of your matter and why, in your judgment, it was a departure. Hearing no statement, I call the question. Mr. Bellows?
I certify.
Mr. Lee?
I certify.
Mr. Geezy?
I certify.
Mr. Smith?
I certify.
And I, Palin, certify. This first certification resolution is adopted. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to approve the lease dated February 1st, 2025, by and between the County of Lancaster and State of Course LLC for the lease and improvements of a certain parcel of land at the end of Harpers Creek Drive as presented to the board. Appropriate the funds as provided by the lease agreement and authorize the county administrator to execute such lease. And I further move that due to the nature and location of the property to be leased, the improvements to be constructed on the property owned by State of Course LLC, that the same affords space to accommodate water access improvements for public use, and that leasing a portion of the property as described in the lease with access to water and public road would with the necessary improvements constitute an appropriate and unique water access property for the public. Conform to the provisions of the Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan, and that because of the nature of the property being leased and the improvements to be constructed therein and leased to the county, that this board find and determine that there is only one source particularly available for this transaction pursuant to section 2.2-4303E of the Code of Virginia.
All right. You've all heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And I said aye. All opposed, nay. All right, the motion passed. Okay.
For the board's information, since you passed that motion, we intend to close Monday afternoon.
Monday afternoon.
On the transaction.
Okay, it's coming Monday. All right, good. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Mr. Nate Everett, we're looking forward to doing good business with you. All right, okay. All right, any board reports? All right, here, no board reports?
I do have a board report.
Okay.
So gentlemen, I am asking if this board would consider the ordinance that we have in place for residential solar projects. I do have a few pictures behind you, and I'm not going to take up much of your time.
I'm sorry, the projector needs to work.
Oh,
Turn back on
okay,
real
well,
quick.
we don't need pictures.
That was a
I-
miscommunication on my part.
No, that's okay. I took some pictures of my neighbor who put up a solar panel. It's a freestanding solar panel in his yard, and this is in the village of Weems. So there's a picture, one picture there. You can scan through. I had these taken by a professional, Smith's Photography. And so go back to, okay, go
Was
back.
that a sole source?
Yes. So if you look at the, basically the trees are the property line, and you can see where the solar panel is, and go back to some others. All right, stop right there. You can see that
the homeowner basically put the solar panel as far away from his house as possible. Unfortunately, it is now the neighbor's problems, two neighbors. The one lady behind him, she walks out every morning. She says that this solar panel makes a humming noise and it drives her animals crazy. So this panel is 63 feet by 12 feet tall. So that's 756 square feet. Right now, the ordinance allows for us to approve 10,000. I think that number is awfully high. I think we need to look at that number. I think we need to look at our setbacks. A minimum setback to the property owner is 25 feet. I think that's way too close. 75 feet from the center line of a main road, and then it's only 100 feet setback from the waterway. So gentlemen, if you would just please consider this, until we see it firsthand, we don't realize how large these things are. And as a property owner, I certainly would consider my neighbors and at least put a buffer around it. Right now, we don't allow any type of buffer as well.
Don, are these things that we could make directly corrections at this board level, or this had to go back to the planning commission?
It's in the ordinance, so it would have to go back through the planning commission and then come back to the board because it is a land use ordinance. So it would require an ordinance amendment. And what I'm hearing is Mr. Smith has suggested some changes to the residential ground-mounted solar.
Yes, just the ground mount.
Just the ground mounted. So, yeah, I support reducing the size of them. I would support looking at the setbacks, but I would also support just not outright not allowing these in the waterfront overlay.
Okay.
I agree.
So you have a motion to refer this to the planning commission for recommendations?
Yes.
Yes.
What did we already refer to the planning commission?
We
just did something.
We just referred the Article 25 with the special exception for the co-location on the cell towers.
So allow that to just be done administratively.
Yeah, to be done
That's right,
administratively.
That's right, okay.
Yeah, so that's two things. You've given them additional work, so I
So-
think they'll be
The
pleased.
board need to be mindful on this particular instance that Mr. Smith is talking about. It's not going to have any effect on him.
Right.
I still look like maybe we could reason with him to put a buffer around that thing. I don't understand why he wouldn't be, considerate of putting some kind of buffer around it so that the one lady didn't have to, walk right there and look at it.
Could we also explore this noise issue? Because this is the first I've heard that solar panels are making a electric humming noise.
Yeah, I mean,
So if that's something that needs to be addressed in the ordinance on sound or,
It might be
Well,
that.
it's, got something in on sound, but I don't know what kind of noise, because,
It might be that the human don't bother, it doesn't bother a human, but the dogs pick up sound real
When she gets
quick.
close, but their dog can
Higher
hear it.
pitched
He's
sounds.
constantly
Yeah.
barking with it.
Well,
noise.
yeah.
It might have a.
but everything is measured, it's not going to be measured for, it's going to be measured on human terms,
Right.
not,
Yeah.
but not ultrasonic?
Yeah.
I think, and I forget how many, I think it's 3 that we've already permitted, these ground-mounted residential solar. And, they come to be because sometimes folks' homes, the roof structure won't support the additional weight on the roof, so that's why they choose to go with a ground mount. But I mean, these are not unreasonable considerations for the planning commission to consider and then forward back a recommendation to the board.
You want to put that in?
Yeah.
For the planning commission?
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion that we send this residential solar project ordinance back to the planning commission
To reconsider.
for reconsideration.
All right, you've heard the motion, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passed.
Don, did you get a list of those recommendations from us?
Yes, I did. I think we're good.
All right, any other county reports? Administration report?
Board report, you had 2 nominations for the...
Yeah, for appointments.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Well, appointments is under board report, so there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. At this particular, all right, at this particular time, I'd like to, for the Lancaster County Broadband Authority, I'd like to nominate Russell
Fleischer,
and Carolyn.
Puglisi Barker.
All right. I don't mean to laugh at them, I'm laughing at myself for not being able to pronounce it. All right. Oh, you've heard the motion, all in favor, say aye.
What was that last name before I vote?
Tell him, Don.
Puglisi Barker.
All right, any opposition, say nay. All right, and the motion passed. All right, they are on.
And I would just add that the Broadband Authority received, I think, 5 interview requests. They put an ad in the paper, and so they have vetted these, and these 2 folks were their recommendation to join the Broadband Authority.
All right, now, county administration report. I forgot
I've got
that,
2
Don. Thank you.
things real quick. Tomorrow is Marlon Savoy's last day. She is retiring after 46 years of service to the county, all in one place, her 46 years, all right here at Lancaster County. We had a little cake cutting today for her, and I asked her then, would she attend the February 27th board meeting so that the board could express their appreciation to her as well. So she will be here on February 27th so that we can honor her and thank her for her 46 years of service. So having said that now, I will say that now the longest serving county employee is Mr. Rowe over there.
And how many years?
Was it 30, how many years, Glenn? It'll be 35 in June.
Any ideas?
So will we have a resolution for?
And I want to talk to you about that after. We'll probably prepare a nice plaque for Marlon and present it to her at the February 27th meeting.
Who's going to replace her?
I'm glad you brought that. I almost missed it. The longest-serving deputy in her office is Beth Cornwell. Beth Cornwell will be sworn in on Monday as the acting Commissioner of Revenue, and a special election will be held at the regular November general election for the Commissioner of Revenue spot that will begin January 1st of 2026. So
Alden get the budget straight before she left.
she did.
All right.
She
Good to have another Cornwell. My grandfather was on this board of supervisors.
It was.
Oh, wow.
The last thing I want to bring up is just a FYI that, we're in the middle of the budget process, early on, rather, and budget requests are due back to me February the 7th. I'll go through them and compile them. Once I have that in hand, we'll know for sure about future financing. The board had previously approved an additional $15 million for the schools when it went from 60 to 75, but we did not borrow any additional funds at that time when you approved that, in the hopes that interest rates would drop when we needed to pursue that financing. We will have to pursue that financing during this calendar year, probably a fall Virginia Public School Authority bond financing, which would be in the October and closing in November timeframe. Prior to that, you previously had borrowed $5 million through a lease revenue bond through the Economic Development Authority to fund non-school related capital improvement items. And given the park projects that we have currently bid and awarded, the emergency radio communication system, that $5 million bond has been expended as of December 31st. I'm going to have a reimbursement resolution before you in February that will give the board the ability to reimburse itself for 60 days prior to that adoption of that resolution. So everything that we've spent since the previous bond financing has expired or been used up, we'll be able to cover in a future financing, and that will either be a Virginia Resource Authority bond financing, which their next pool is in the summer, or a similar EDA lease revenue bond that you did previously, which could be done sooner than later, maybe in the April timeframe. So having said all that, I've been talking with Davenport and Company, emailing, probably going to try to get them here in March to give you, some options of what's ahead. So just want to put that on your radar, that's coming up.
Okay, any other business? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We adjourn.